Hello, my friends. I am back with you today for a little mini session of the Coach's Corner. So, just gonna check real quick to see that we are live, and we are good to be back with you. And this is a topic that no one wants to talk about, but yet we find ourselves in, right, ladies? And usually it happens after we have kids that things are just not as tight as we want them to be down there. And so, wanted to have a little discussion with you today about what's going on down there and how we can tighten things up, because this is a real issue for a lot of people who are dealing with incontinence, right? Urinary incontinence, where we feel maybe the urge to go really, really strongly, like, oh my gosh, are we going to make it to the bathroom in time? There's that kind. Or we are out back jumping on the trampoline and yeah, we can't jump on the trampoline like we used to, right, ladies? Or any kind of exercise where you're jumping around or feeling like I better empty my bladder before I do X, Y, and Z activity, or else I'm going to be in trouble. Yes. And like I said, a lot of times it happens after we have children and we have had some kind of trauma or damage to the pelvic floor from childbirth. And I'm not going to go into all of that because that would take a long time to talk about. But if you have questions about any of that, get with me. We will have a chat about the pelvic floor in more detail, but really wanted to talk to you about hormones related to the pelvic floor. Because as we age, so after we have kids, yes, maybe we've had some trauma to the pelvic floor. Then, as we get older into perimenopause, and what am I meaning by perimenopause? It's that time in your late 30s to maybe your late 40s where the hormones start to decline, and we see this decline in the hormones. Things start to loosen up, we lose skin elasticity, things just don't look as toned and firm as they used to. We have maybe into menopause vaginal atrophy, dryness. So all the tissues down in that area are different than before, right? Let's just call it different than before because of the drop in estrogen and progesterone and a myriad of other things going on as far as hormone imbalances that are taking place. Normal, okay? Nothing's wrong with you. It's normal for the imbalance to happen until things level out as we hit menopause, which happens. The average age of menopause in this country is about 51 years old, but menopause being defined as 12 months of no period, no bleeding for 12 months. So consider that as we talk about your pelvic floor, because that's what I want to talk about today. I just want to give you guys a couple of tips, and maybe it's stuff that you already know, or you've heard of Kegel exercises. What can I do for urinary incontinence, or what can I do if I always feel like I'm rushing to the bathroom? And you've heard, oh, do your Kegels, but no one ever teaches you how to do Kegels. Or you've been doing things wrongly, maybe. And I just want to set the record straight for you that it works if you do it right. And if you have a lot of trauma, that maybe it's time to go see a pelvic floor physiotherapist. Those do exist and very, very helpful for a lot of people if you've had scar tissue and trauma and lots of things going on with your pelvic floor. But consider that your pelvic floor is like a bowl, right? It's like a bowl, and it has to hold about 30 pounds of organs. That's your intestines, your bladder, and it's just mesh. It's like mesh down there. So if it's not, the muscles around the bowl are not strong, maybe it's because you had an episiotomy, or maybe, again, like I said, you've had some trauma, some surgeries, whatever else going on down there, then that weakens, right? That can weaken the structure of your bowl. So if you've got that going on, plus the idea that menopause, perimenopause, moving into the stage, now we've got our hormones less than, optimal, and tissues are starting to change down there as well. We don't want any prolapse of any organs coming down, but sometimes that happens too. How do we keep things tightened up? right? And a lot of times, like I said, people will talk about Kegels, about squeezing right down there. But do they ever consider squeezing with the breath and what that kind of means? Or do you even know really how to do Kegels? A lot of times people will talk about just squeezing and holding. But if you consider it's a muscle, do we ever walk around holding a dumbbell like this and just walk around with it? No, that's not functional, right? We don't do this all day long. We need to be able to do this, right? And that makes more sense to be able to expand and contract. Same with your pelvic floor, same with your vagina. We need to be able to make the muscles around your bowl functional. So I want you to consider that pelvic floor, if you consider an upside down parasol or an upside down umbrella, right? And the point of the umbrella is pointed down towards your pelvic floor, and then you've got the umbrella open like this. So what I want you to visualize, ladies, is to close your parasol, close up that parasol, and to practice that movement as you are sitting, as you're standing, as you're walking. A lot of times our posture contributes to poor muscular structure in the pelvic floor. You know, we're slumped over at a desk, or we don't get enough exercise where we are walking around. The movement, that's why movement is so important. And that's why I talk about hormonal health as a total wellness, right? Because we're not just looking at little pieces of you, but we're looking at the nutrition. How are you eating? How are you flooding your body with nutrients that will support your hormone health to keep you that bowl as strong as possible based on your nutrients, based on your exercise. So, as you're thinking about closing up that parasol, I want you to also think about your breathing, how you're breathing. Because when we exhale, that's actually when we contract. Just do it right now. Stop what you're doing. Do it right now with me. Take a deep breath in. And when you're inhaling, that's lengthening. And then when you exhale, that's the contraction. That's a normal physiological response that your body does all day long without us really thinking about it. But if you are intentional about that movement and closing and opening that parasol, that is a very good exercise for your pelvic floor if you've got some incontinence going on. Like I said, if you have some trauma down there due to childbirth or anything, surgeries, anything else that's compromised that structure, that bowl that's holding up about 30 pounds of weight in there, if you've had any kind of damage there, then it may be time to consider seeing a pelvic floor physiologist if that is in your, in your area and you can get to somebody like that. Seeing somebody maybe for body work is also a great option, but don't suffer in silence. There's no need to be tinkling while we sneeze or while we go jump on the trampoline out back. We don't want our life to be compromised by the things that we can't do anymore, right? Just because our body is changing, our hormones are changing. Don't let that be the be all end all for you. In other words, if you have more questions about the pelvic floor, closing up that parasol, Kegel exercises, let's have a chat. Get in touch. Otherwise, have a fantastic rest of your day. And don't forget about the hormone class, masterclass coming on Monday, where we will be diving into much deeper topics having to do with your hormone health. Have a great day, guys.